So I literally arrived back at the port today late for all aboard and almost missed the ship. And I thought, what better time to share this experience with you in hopes that you might be able to avoid similar mistakes and not miss the ship. Because I think that's one of the greatest fears of everybody on a cruise is what happens if I miss the ship. Hi everyone, I'm Laura and welcome to Living on Cruise Control, where a year and a half ago, I left the corporate grind to pursue my dream of living full-time on cruise ships. We are going through the islands and the water just outside of Stockholm, Sweden. I'm on the Sky Princess. We actually had an overnight yesterday. So we had the full day and then an overnight. And then today our all aboard was at 1:30 p.m. here in Stockholm, Sweden. Weather turned out to be beautiful. Yesterday, I ventured into just a neighborhood, had some coffee, super relaxing, and then got back to the ship in time for dinner. So I wasn't out late at all. This morning, I realized that I hadn't used my hop-on, hop-off bus ticket, and I thought, since it was good for 2 days, let's get on the bus, run a few errands. I wanted to look at SD cards and hard drives, which are ridiculously expensive here in Sweden, as in $450 for a SanDisk 2 terabyte hard drive, and another $150 for an SD card. So I'm just gonna figure out some iCloud, Google Photos, some other online options to not be spending that kind of money. But needless to say, I wanted to get some protein bars and just kind of look around center part of town. So got on the hop-on, hop-off bus at like 8:30, right on time. But it didn't leave the port until about 9:15. Happened to sit next to the saxophonist playing in the house band. So we had a nice chat, which made the time go by. He was trying to get to this museum that was way at the end of the route. I was getting off at stop 10. First challenge is it's a Monday, and we were hitting traffic at that time of day. So I didn't actually get to my hop-off spot until about 10:15. All aboard is 1:30. I like to be all aboard like an hour ahead of time. So if something goes wrong, I have this window. And what we had talked about on the bus ride is from where I was being dropped off, you can actually get this water taxi that cuts back to where the ship is. And I thought that'd be fun. I mean, it is a beautiful day. Check out the scenery. Come on. It's 70 degrees. I don't know if it gets more beautiful. So I thought, yes, let's get out on the water. It's been pretty chilly the last 2 months that I've been up here in this northern part of the world. So I got off on 10. I went to this computer shop, which turned out to be in Grand Central Station, where like trains and subways are. Great little drugstores there. Oh, a little speedboat. See if you can see that. Hopefully you can see that. Maybe not. Anyways, I need to stay focused. So they had like a great little drugstore, and I wound up getting some reading glasses for like 15 euros or $15. I think it's kronos, Swedish krones or krones or something is the money here. Anyways, so great little shops in there. I wasn't even dilly-dallying. I wasn't taking my time at all because I knew I needed to start to walk towards there by noon. I figured if I could get on that little boat by noon, that should put me back in the area of the ship by 12:30. So I wound up stopping to have this salad, which was great. I had really strong Wi-Fi, so I was able to offload photos from my phone. I was like accomplishing some things, but definitely not just sitting there wandering around. So as I got out of Grand Central Station, I didn't even grab a coffee. As I got out, I realized it's about 11:45. And by the time I walk, it might be 12:15. Those boats only come every 30 minutes. So I thought, that's a little risky. I don't know if it's gonna get there in enough time. Because remember, where the ship is isn't necessarily where you're able to walk to or get dropped off. There's usually another 10 minutes, 20 minutes. There's walking time that you need to account for. There's only a few ports where you can like drive up and like get right on the ship. A lot of times, especially in Europe, they're not right there. So you have to take that time into account. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna see if I can grab a taxi. So I tried to hail a taxi, and two of them came by and were busy. One guy said, try Uber. So I thought, okay, Uber. And you can do like Uber, Bolt, Grab, depending on what country you're in. So I picked Uber. One was 5 minutes and one was 8 minutes. And the 8-minute one was like €5 cheaper. It was like 18 euros or 15 euros. And I thought, I'll wait 3 minutes. Well, it took a lot longer than 8 minutes for that Uber to come. They were dropping somebody off for like 10 minutes. So now I'm running a little behind, but I still should be ahead. And I put the cruise port, right? The main cruise port. Big mistake. I'll tell you about in a minute. Put the cruise port in. It was like 15 euros or whatever it's about 15 USD equivalent to get from where I was over to the cruise port. It's about 25 minutes. So driving along, as we're getting closer, I'm realizing I don't recognize any of this because I was here yesterday. So I remember kind of what things look like, and you can see the ship like a good 5 minutes out as you're getting near that part of the city. And he goes to drop me off at this building. There's no cruise ships around, and my stomach sinks because now it's 1 o'clock. And that feeling of, I have no idea where to go. Please don't just leave me here and end the ride. Thank goodness he was also a taxi, which I thought was interesting. He had like a taxi sign on his car, and he was driving for Uber. And so I frantically looked up the name of the cruise port and the terminal, and I said, this is it. So then he kept asking me to update Uber, kind of English, broken a bit. And I said, I don't know how to update and add a stop. Can you just put me on your taxi and take me there as quickly as possible? Then we got stuck in traffic, and it was 8:31, 8:32, 8:36. Mind you, all aboard's at 8:30. And there's a good 5 to 10 minute walk from where cars parked or buses were to get to the gangway. And I'm sweating. I'm like, can you hurry? Like this little truck got in front of us. This old man was literally walking with a cane. Meanwhile, I can just feel my anxiety. Just thinking, what was I doing? Like there was nothing that I needed that was so important today to miss the ship. And so stressed out, like I was practically running. By the time he dropped me off, then we had to plug it in. It was $54. It was probably another $15 ride, but I wound up paying 54 USD. Actually, it was 54 euros, so it was even more than that. Probably 60 something USD to get to the ship. And I was hauling, and they were pulling up the other side of the gangway. I'm pretty sure I was the last person. There was a family of like 4 people in front of me, like just in front of me. So I knew they weren't gonna leave. But I mean, to get on the ship at 1:36, it's not fun. Another 10, 15 minutes, I would have missed the ship. In fact, the captain came on at 42 after and said, everybody's on board and we're gonna start pulling away. And I thought, wow, what do I need to do to make sure that does not happen? Because the level of stress that created is absolutely not worth it. So here's a couple of pointers that I have. One, plan to get to the ship, or at least the neighborhood within walking distance, close, an hour before all aboard. So that way, if these things happen that are out of your control, traffic, getting lost, time just seems to go by so quickly when you're in port. And so try to plan to be there a good hour ahead of time. If you take a cruise excursion, you know that they do offer a guarantee that the ship won't leave you. I have heard of a couple of times where, because the delay was so late, that the cruise line did cover the hotel and a flight and transportation to go meet folks in the next port, or to go pick up the ship in the next port. That's still pretty rare. Most of the time there's a buffer for the cruise ship to wait for you. If you're doing anything on your own, Viator, get your guide, do it yourself. Just plan to give yourself that extra hour. One of the other recommendations would be, if you're kind of lost in a city and you're not quite sure what type of transportation to get back, taxis don't necessarily just drive up and down every road. I have a tendency to look for a hotel. Hotels are great for lots of purposes. I can do a whole video on how I use hotels in almost every port that I go to. Stay tuned for that. But you can go into a hotel and usually they'll be able to call you a taxi. So if you can't figure out the local Uber, Bolt, Grab, just find a hotel, walk up to the lobby desk, ask them to call you a taxi. That's really helpful instead of standing on the street trying to wait or wave something down. Another huge tip, and I didn't do this, and I should know better because this is not the first time I've almost missed a ship. So let me tell you that next story. So make sure you know the name and the address of the exact port that you arrive in, because everywhere, I'm trying to think of where this didn't exist. There's always more than one cruise port. Sometimes they're right next door. So if you did get off by one, you can just walk next door. Lots of times they're on opposite sides of the city. We were 30 minutes apart from the cruise port that I needed to be under. And the one we were at was like the fourth one on the list. It wasn't even the first one. So don't just assume that if you Google Map cruise port, definitely make sure that you're very clear. In fact, there's these sheets that we get on Princess, like the day before we arrive in port, that tells us the port that we're in. What's even better, by the elevators, there's these signs that tell you the name of the port and give you a phone number to call if you need somebody with the port authority. So if you are running late, you can at least call them, or they can reach out to the ship to let them know that you're late or you're on your way, or to have a point of contact. That gives you the exact name and address. So when you're getting a taxi or getting an Uber or a Bolt or a Grab, you're going to the right cruise port. Or even if you're walking on your Google map, you're going to the right cruise port. So that's huge. I should have known better. I remembered that it began with an M. Once we got to the wrong port, I remembered and found it. And luckily I was able to get on this ship, but it is not fun being that close. The other time I almost missed the ship was a turnaround day in Fort Lauderdale. I just wanted to go to Macy's. It's like a 10-minute drive to go to the Galleria Mall, I think it is. And mind you, I was turnaround every 7 days for 4 months in Fort Lauderdale on the Star Princess. And I gave myself plenty of time. We were like 2.5 hours before all aboard. And I called an Uber outside of Macy's, like on the street corner. So I wasn't like in the parking lot, I was on the street corner. And I waited and waited and waited. Finally called, you know how you can call your Uber driver. Didn't speak English, couldn't figure out where I was. I had to cancel the Uber. That happened 3 times. 3 times. I even walked over to like a dentist office. Then I walked to this other main street so at least I could pin a location where they could find me, because for some reason it kept on showing the wrong location. It was so stressful, and English was a problem, which you wouldn't think, but it turns out that it is. So definitely those types of things that you would never imagine. I was like 35 minutes late that day. Luckily, there had been some type of a fire situation at a hotel nearby. Nothing happened that I had heard terrible, but because that had delayed us, other ships getting out of the port and had delayed us, otherwise I would have missed that ship that day. And no one wants to have to figure out the expenses and the inconvenience of finding a hotel for a week, flying to the next location. You don't have clothes with you, toothbrush. It's like all the things that you would want to have with you when you're traveling. They're not with you. They're back in your stateroom. And you paid to be on that cruise, not to be stuck somewhere trying to go chase down the ship. So I'm finding I have a lot of ideas and ways to spend your port day and how to figure out how to spend your port day. I should have run my errands yesterday when we had no return all aboard time. I just didn't feel like it, but I should have done the errands. And to be honest, I should have just stayed on the ship today and sat by the pool because it was beautiful and sunny. And with a 1:30 all aboard being so early, there's no reason for me to be wandering around. If you're finding this video inspirational or educational, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another update of my life living full-time on cruise ships. So the port planning and having a backup plan B in case the timing, because is it just me or does it feel like the time in the port flies? Like it feels like it's 9 a.m. and then it's 2 p.m. in a minute. I swear time speeds up. Just because everything's so new and different, I don't think you realize how quickly the time's going by. The other tip that I have is make sure your watch and your clock is set to ship time, not local time. Because sometimes the local time and the ship time aren't the same. And the ship's all aboard time is the ship time. In fact, I don't have any type of auto updates on my date and phone. On my iPhone, I set it manually. And that's another thing that I check really quick. So before I get off the ship, I grab a snapshot of either the sheet of paper that came in the room or the board that's just on by the elevator. So I've got the port of call, contact information, tells me what the ship time is and the all aboard time. So I've got that all set and ready to go. So a year and a half of sailing, I haven't missed a ship yet, but being 8 minutes late is unacceptable. And just the stress of that last half hour, it just can really ruin your day. The other thing that you hear a lot is to fly in the day before your cruise leaves. I can't emphasize that enough. That's so smart. You don't even need to pay. So to do it on the budget side, just find an inexpensive hotel where you can sleep, clean. I like IHG because of the point system and benefits of having an IHG credit card. And when they run their 100% bonus on points, that wind up to be about a half a cent each, I usually can find a really nice hotel pretty close to the port. So just get close to the port, a place to sleep, get to the ship early. There's no reason to dilly-dally. If you have a set time on some cruise lines where it's a little bit later, go within your block, go at the beginning of your block, get there even just a little early, it can't hurt. And in my opinion, that's another day that you don't wanna, take too much time exploring the town and then figure out how to get back to the ship. That's really stressful too. So get to the ship early, come in the night ahead of time. Don't try to fly the morning of. If you live within driving distance, maybe just leave so early. Plan a flat tire, something breaking down with my car. What would it cost to get another ride, right? Plan for all of those contingencies because you just never know when that's gonna happen. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have an amazing day and I hope to see you on a cruise one day. Thanks.